Hi, this is Eli Oakletree of the SnoKing Beekeepers Association. This is our monthly meeting. We are going to start with some announcements just until our speaker for tonight, our main speaker, comes. It will be Matthew Mullica. I have to ask him how to pronounce his last name, from Keystone Organization, which is a management policy type center that is managing the honey bee health coalition that has existed for a long time. So somebody flag me down, okay, interrupt me. If he comes, can I
Yeah.
get rid of? I don't know how many people are actually interested. But I wanted to point out how to do fair entries. And in the chat, I already put that in the link to the best, I think it's the 2023 that Tim Ade, who is the supervisor for the Evergreen State Fair, which is that 11-day fair that is our biggest opportunity to advertise our club and also to get together. Because if we get like 3 people on every shift and then people meet at shift changes and some people are coming for multiple times, if that happens, then you end up meeting a fair number of people that you have heard of, you've kind of met quickly online. Yeah. So I was going to go through that. Did anybody rather discuss something else? Because you can go watch the video, but sometimes people don't realize how easy it would be to enter the fair, and you're almost guaranteed a ribbon, actually.
I had a
Um,
question about the varroa treatments before we jump into the other
okay.
topic, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Um, so I was going through that to the website that they had posted, and it said like if you have brood, like you were saying, right, like
Yeah.
oxalic acid vapor is not recommended. I
So mad
don't
when
fully
they
get
say
it.
that. I get
Can
so
you?
mad when they say that because they make a big point of it doesn't penetrate the cappings. No other, no other, nothing else penetrates the cappings except Naroa being ingested by the
Well, formic acid
larvae.
does, doesn't it?
The brand new one, the Naroa that they did, and it gets ingested by the larvae, that might work under the cappings, but it's nothing works under the cappings except formic acid. So they make a big point of this, and it's like they repeat it like a mantra, and I'm so sick of hearing it.
Yeah,
Um,
but even for the oxalic acid vapor, like if you just
Mhm.
did it in like say 3-day cycles for like 5 or 6 treatments, you will get it all eventually, wouldn't
yeah,
you?
you have to space it better.
Right.
Repeated spacing, repeated applications is considered one of the most innocuous in terms of harm to the bees. But we don't know the mechanism of action. We don't know the MOA. That's the odd thing about it.
Right.
But it is one of the least lethal things you could do. It doesn't cause, for example, a lot of the essential oils will induce supersedure. They cover up the queen's pheromones, so they can cause a little bit of trouble. Formic acid is lethal if it's done at all wrong. The temperature's wrong, the ventilation's wrong. You do it too small of a hive. It's not to be done in less than 10 frame deep size hive. And if you kill the queen or cause her to be superseded, like late in the year, you may not have time to realize that you are queenless going into the winter. There's dangers to formic acid, and it's the big, big one for commercial beekeepers. Having said that, the thing they're not saying outright about formic acid is it also seems to discourage or kill tracheal mites, um, and it may discourage or kill nosema because it's very volatile and it goes into the breathing tubes system of the bees. So that's part of why the formic acid is so big with the commercial beekeepers. So, but I'm so sick of hearing this mantra of oxalic acid doesn't penetrate the cappings. Well, none of the others do either, except Noroa would be ingested by the larvae. It would be in their system. And then Varroa that fed on them under the cappings. Okay, then that one would have an effect. But all of the others don't penetrate the cappings.
And formic pro does, doesn't it? Like
It does, and it kills larvae and eggs and often queens. If
oh, larvae too. Okay, got it. Oh,
yes,
that's
it's
okay.
lethal to the bees as well as and but if you balance it right, and if you're a commercial beekeeper, this is where it really zigs and zags. If you're a commercial beekeeper and you know that it's going to kill some queens or cause some to be superseded, and then might get a poorly mated queen you don't really want. If you know that, You simply do it at the time of the year that you've got your queens on order. There are
That makes
commercial
sense.
beekeepers who requeen every year or every 2 years anyway. So they just formic acid right before they do that. They know they're going to requeen. But we don't usually strategize and think that way as hobbyists. We could. We could do that. Yeah, I don't know. The decision tree is the thing that bothers me the most about it, because in this area, temperature is our number one concern. Forget whether or not it goes under the cappings, since only formic acid does. But formic acid is the one that really kills queens. Occasionally, not often. And I think they said it often kills the older queens. I'm thinking the young ones are more robust and do better. There's one age that's better than the other if you read the literature and you read the comments. So I don't know. Yeah, they'll say that's where somebody who was a beekeeper would stand up and scream and holler and say, wait a minute, you keep repeating this and it doesn't make any sense that you're repeating it. But it does relate to an old EPA caveat that oxalic acid was not to be used when there was brood in the hive. We couldn't use it in Western Washington. That was one of the very first EPA statements on oxalic acid for use by commercial beekeepers that came out. We, okay, hopefully everybody sees the slideshow, and, oops, wait, I'm back. I gotta find where I'm going back. Okay. And to do fair entries is actually so easy, and Tim Ade begs us to do fair entries every year, and you don't have to just honey, and you can get a lot of certificates and have award-winning honey. And as somebody once said, they didn't want to be gifted a quilt until it was entered in the fair because they wanted to have the ribbon that went with it. I mean, it's kind of fun, and it does recognize you as a beekeeper. So you go in to do hive products as open class, which means you don't belong to the FFA, the FH, the FFA, Future Farmers of America, anything like that. 4-H, that's the other thing I was thinking of. Okay. And it's really easy to do. You can enter online, and actually it's recommended you enter online, especially if you want to try for the largest or best turnip and the best melon and the best whatever. It takes a long time to stand in line and fill out a form for each one of those entries. If you're going honey and hive products, and here's Tim Ade's name right here. I'm going to show you a picture in a little while. If you don't know who Tim is, he's that sweetie that runs the whole indoor, outdoor, everything bee related at the fair, including supervising our booth. And if there's one error on it, though, he said the judging is only going to be on Saturday. And I remember I have at least 2 people that have told me they want to judge already. I don't remember if a third person has told me, if you want to judge, you have to, it counts for journeyman service credits, and it is a really good experience. I don't know if there's a third opening, but email me if you are interested, because I've got to go back and check. There will be 2 days you can drop off deliveries. So reading all this fine print, I know you can go get your own copy, but the important thing is they're going to have 2 drop-off days for honey. And it is something you kind of have to take it in person, and you have to get it there at least by the Saturday before the fair, August 22nd. And you can drop it off during the day. There's some caveats about dropping it off, because it makes you want to cry when somebody did a great job of packaging their honey, and then somebody at the last minute turns it upside down, puts fingerprints all over the glass jar. I'm going to talk, and Tim likes to talk about that, things that go wrong, and then your entry gets marked down points because you thought you just send somebody over. One of the ones that made him cry was the husband who'd been sent over to hand the honey, and he twisted the cap down really hard, and he put his fingerprints all over it. They're not allowed to clean up the jar for you. So you get there and you wipe it clean and hand it to them, and they handle it with gloves, literally. But extracted honey is the one people think of the most. Now, I said you can win a lot of prizes. Well, you don't just have extracted honey. You have 8 chances to win a prize in extracted honey, each color that is recognized by something called the Jack scale. And you can enter 8. You can enter all these categories for your honey. using the right kind of jar and taking just a few precautions. So it's really easy to get a first or second place ribbon. Chunk honey. A lot of people, I can picture that in case you haven't thought of entering that, or creamed honey. A chunk honey, you have a piece of beautiful comb and you put it in the jar and you surround it with the extracted honey, pour it all around. It looks gorgeous. It's a really neat way to sell honey too. Comb honey. From the frame to you've cut out some little sections of honey in the comb, which is super gourmet right now. And you can do it in Ross rounds, half comb cassettes, and which is a system that if you're interested in comb honey, I can explain it, and other people who've done it here can explain it. You could do anything in beeswax. It can be just a block of beeswax. It can be candles, all this. Okay, so going through this is, you can enter these online, as I was saying. Then, wait a minute, did I jump? No, I want to make sure I didn't jump. Oh, I did jump. Here's that color scale. You can enter you can actually have to enter 3 jars at a time, but you can enter all of these categories. Doing it online is a little bit easier. If you can't figure the color according to that Jack scale I flashed at you really quickly, don't worry, they'll help you when you get there and put it in the correct category. Pollen. This is one that some of us are already collecting pollen for the Washington National Pollen Atlas. And I was thinking, you know something? My bees overproduce pollen in the late July, early August dearth every year. Why don't I collect some of it? And enter it. I think that'd be a great thing to do. There's a gadgets thing. You can enter something that like 3D printing is really big right now for the perfect entrance reducer or a little feeder thing or something like that, or shim. There's a heaviest frame. You just pick up a frame and you can enter one of each. What's called a true shallow, a Western. You notice they use the word I use. People make fun of me, but a shallow and a Western are not the same. Then there's a slightly larger 3/4 depth, which I'd have never used, and then a deep frame. And so you can get the biggest frame you can get. There's some tricks to that. It's like a milk-fed pumpkin. And then there's educational displays. And educational displays are a good way to keep your kids busy. Okay, honey, you want to enter the fair? Do a poster of the parts of the bee or how bees pollinate or something. Great homeschool project. Now, I'm just going to talk about what Tim says at this, and I put it in the chat, this video. It was 2023 that he basically did it. And he explains, this is what's called a queen line jar. You don't have to have a queen line jar, but you have to have a jar with smooth sides that a light can be shown through, and a refractometer, and they're gonna measure it and see if it really is honey. Water content. I think that's the main thing they check by specking. They can also check water content by taking out a drop. They might be doing purity. I think this might be a purity test. It can be used for both. Sugar content, water content, and then for purity. Little pieces of wax or something that get in the way. He's showing you, Tim showing you a queen line jar. It doesn't have to be queen line. It can be anything that will hold 1 pound of honey, which is like about 11 ounces, maybe 11 and a half. And so it could be a jar. Tim got these from Uline. Smooth sided. You can't use a canning jar because the print and such gets in the way of the light beam going through. Then he explains, you need to not be slack filling and not be overfilling. What's slack filling? You may have heard it, when you're selling something honestly, you don't want to ever underfill a jar, even in a way that's deceptive. Like if this had a big lid that came down for 1 inch and you had 1 inch of space there and you didn't put the honey in there, that'd be wrong. So he's pointing out in this, Tim is pointing out that the bottom ridge of jars is where you are supposed to be filling the honey to. He actually recommends that you fill a little farther than that because he has some tricks he tells you about in that video. And if you've ever thought about presenting your honey, he's showing you again here. This is on the queen line jar, any jar. It's that bottom ridge is the one you're supposed to fill to. And when you fill to that, he actually recommends that you overfill a little bit. This is a wrong jar. He actually has it in, because this is a canning jar with that interference, that raised letters and such that would never work. The shape of the jar, he's not picky about it, but you have to be able to get the beam of light through it. And yeah, with that raised lettering, it's not going to work. But he was showing how you would take a jar and could even transport it to the fair using saran wrap for a couple of purposes. The first thing he does is when you take your honey to the fair, it's going to have that beam of light shot through. You don't want any floaties in it. You want to have left it at about, if you can, like 80 degrees for you fill the jars. You want it, the bubbles to rise. Whenever you pour honey, there's always a little bit of air trapped. If you've just extracted it, there's some little wax bits or something, and they will slowly rise. If you, especially if you leave them in a warm place, they'll rise up and they make this kind of scum on the top. Well, if you put a piece of saran wrap and you kind of push it down a little right onto the surface, sort of like when you're making pudding and you don't want it to form a skin. Well, in this case, you push it right down on the surface, and then when you go to pull it off, right before you give it, you take it to the fair, you will pull off. He's got it, he's pushed it down. Now he's taken it off, and when he pulled it off, he actually on that saran wrap, all that wax, if you lift it gently, comes off. All the little scum that would have interfered with the appearance of the honey comes off. If you overfilled, you now can take a little bit of honey out to get it to exactly that bottom ring on the jars. It's well worth watching this if you're seriously thinking about it. But all these things are points. Let's see. What can you actually get disqualified for? You can't shoot the beam of light through. I think that's a disqualification. But almost everything else is you get judged on a point. Did you manage to get clear honey of a certain color? Because you'll be only judged against the other ones of that color. Did you get the impurities out enough? But that's points. Is it in the correct size jar? If you don't submit 3 jars of a pound each, you get knocked down points for the if you don't get exactly a pound, it's close, fairly close to it. But if you don't submit 3 jars, they can't really even judge you. It's one of the basic requirements. That's a disqualification. You can't have honey on the top of the lid when you turn it over. Now, you wouldn't use a canning jar lid. No, I don't think you would. Well, there's no really, you couldn't use a canning jar lid, but you don't want any honey on it when you deliver it. This is one of those, if somebody else delivers it, don't let them turn it upside down or tilt it or anything. And right before you hand it in, if you you've taken out the first saran wrap with the scone, if you take another piece of saran wrap and you put it stretched tight over the top and then put your lid on, when you get to the fair, if any honey somehow ended up would have been on the bottom of the lid, it's now on that saran wrap. And you can unscrew the cap, take that saran wrap out, and you have a clean underside of the lid. These are points. You don't disqualify your honey, and you may still be the best in the category of paper white or ultra dark knotweed. So you could still get a prize, but it does knock you down points. And then he goes quickly through wax. Wax has to be 1 pound or more. Doesn't have to be a particular shape. This is very nice with the cute little beeswax imprint on it. It can be any shape at all, but it has to be 1 pound or more. Then it should smell like wax. It shouldn't be so processed it's lost all its smell. It should, what else did he say? It should be a good color, purity. You don't see anything in it. It should not have pollen. It should have been strained. They say a t-shirt works pretty well. And a sweatshirt, which I think you would leave a lot of honey in, but a sweatshirt fabric being strained through that is even better, apparently, even a finer strain. If you have that much honey, or that much wax. So that was beeswax. And then there's candles. If you do dipped, I think it says to a pair. Pure beeswax. You're not supposed to have anything else in them. Not dyes or color tints or anything. Pure beeswax. 4-ounce total weight between the two candles. Any kind of novelty item stuff, it's got to be 4 ounces worth. All of these types of wax submissions you can make are 4 ounces. A rolled candle, oh, they did say 2 ounces for rolled candles for a pair. A rolled candle is you take beeswax type foundation and you roll it up. You may have seen those are done as a craft project sometime. So that is the one that does drop to 2 ounces for 2 of them. You have a pair to show that you are in control of how you can do it. You can reproduce it, what you did. Novelty items are kind of fun. You can use wax as part of something else too. You can put wax into candy molds, silicone candy molds or something, but it has to come out pretty much, except for that last one, and except for one single block, to the 4 ounces total weight. So if you did like candy molds, you need enough there that it makes 4 ounces. Oh, and the largest comb, the best looking comb of capped honey. Okay, Tim is pointing here to the fact that this one didn't completely cover the frame. But you know how you sometimes pull out a frame of honey and it is to all the corners, all the sides, gorgeously even, just looks absolutely gorgeous and perfect. You can, he recommends freeze it first, then wrap it in saran wrap, save it for the fair, and then take it on the day of the fair. And there's actually, is it in the next one? The next page, there's actually heaviest frame, which I mentioned quickly before. It should be capped, should not be dripping. That's part of it. Freezing it and getting it saran wrapped and storing it safely in the freezer. That's one you might just do because, and it's only 1 frame in that case. You're not trying to come up with 3 jars. I want to try the pollen. Whoops, at the top there. Pollen, 4-ounce jars. When properly dried, it should fill a 1-pound glass queen line jar. Which would be really pretty just to show off. Shouldn't smell moldy, shouldn't stick together. Shouldn't be so dry that it crumbles. These are the pollen pellets that you can catch in a pollen trap. Okay, that's the basics on the entries. It is incredibly easy. You can bring them in person. Since there's 2 days for drop off, which is unusual, if you're not sure if you're doing it right, you can come, if you come on the first day to drop it off, Tim is quite happy to tell you, would you like to improve your score on this? And he can tell you when you're dropping it off, not after it's ready for judging, but if you're dropping it off, he can say, this was going to get disqualified. You don't have 3 jars. They're not a pound. You can't shoot the beam of light through them. They've got something on them, some label, some marking. You need to do this, and he will talk to people. He loves doing it. So if you're dropping off, especially that first day or the morning of the second day, the second Saturday that you can drop off, and he would probably tell you that about all the different entries. You can ask for advice. So then I have some stuff about the fair itself, but we need to have a meeting just on the fair.
What do they do with the honey once you?
Oh, you get it all back. Oh, that's
Oh, you
important.
do. Oh, okay.
The 3 jars, you get it back, and all that the judges do is just dip a wooden stick into one of the jars only. You're just showing that it wasn't a freak thing, that you could do 3 jars. They dip into one, and I got to do it 1 year, and they taste it. But taste is not the most important part in a lot of ways for the honey judging. It's, did you follow all the instructions? Can you present it well? Does it look good? Clarity. And it's really interesting. It's a lot more about how you enter it. But
Well, that's funny. I thought taste would be the #1 thing, but I guess not.
taste is very, very subjective though. You go and actually taste that where it showed the different colors. There are that many types of honey. Do I have it here? Yeah, there's that many different colors. I mean, from a real knotweed here to true fireweed to things in between that are more blackberry with some other wildflowers. Taste is so subjective that when it gets to best of fair, that's the hardest thing is you got to decide, oh no, of these top ones in each category, which ones taste the best? And that's a real subjective thing. It's really fun to do this and taste all the different flavors just in Western Washington. It's really fun. And that's why it's kind of limited. I think I might have one more space left. I have to remember who. I know I just said yes to somebody. I want to make sure I don't say yes to more than 3 people unless Tim says we can have more than 3 people. But I don't think so. So, oh, the other thing you can do, and you actually would probably let you taste too, is you can be a runner that helps collect these samples on those 2 Saturdays, particularly in the morning. It really helps to have somebody there who makes sure people fill out the entry form, make sure they leave their name and address. They know how to come back and pick it up. You give them the claim ticket so that they will be able to come back and pick it up. And it's a lot of honey. So yeah, you really should kind of pick it up. You have to pick it up after the fair completely closes, just like you had to drop it off before the fair completely opened. Any questions on that? It's kind of fun. And I want to do one whole meeting for people who want to come just on how we organize the 11-day fair with the booth setup, booth tear down, 3 shifts a day, and try to get 3 people. And we've done pretty well at it at every single shift so that you're never alone. You can always take a break and work it out. Whatever works for you. And that's why we have the Sign Up Genius. Okay, did I talk too much already? It is super easy to do. I want to do the pollen. I think that would be the thing that would naturally fall this year. And you can't leave the pollen trap on the hive all the time, but we have enough hives. I was thinking, wait a minute, all I got to do is collect the pollen at different hives because it should only, the pollen trap should only stay on for 2 or 3 days. But I could move it from hive to hive. I don't think I'd be transmitting disease. I don't think there's any risk of that. It's outside at the entrance of the hive. If so, I can wash it off each time, but it could be fun. Anything else? Oh, good. Thanks, Nancy, for signing up. And whatever works, and you can sit down all you, and if you have to be in the shade, we can keep you in the shade. Tim actually needs help at the inside, at the indoor honey booth, and some people have to go sit inside. They can't be out in that much sun, but it depends on the weather. Some years we get rain down. The wind blew the tents over one year. I think ours was okay. Was stable enough that year. Sign up and what works for you. And then we'll have the usual drawing for prizes too. I should probably turn off the recording. And then, like I said, I'll take out anything that looked questionable.